Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is May 17th, 2020. We've got a show for you. I'm going to share us real quick, and then we are late today for two reasons. I took a nap, and my alarm literally, I thought it didn't go off. I texted Leah, she was on a dog walk, and I said, my alarm didn't go off. And then I looked at my phone, and it said missed alarm, which means it was going off, and I slept through it. So that being said, there's that. And then I have done something to my neck, and I'm going to have to step away for a minute and try and stretch it out because I literally cannot move. But it's going to be a good show today. You were working on the show last night, right?
Yeah. It's going to be a great show. We're going to talk about Germany. We're going to show you how they're playing soccer to empty stadiums. Italy is talking about opening up to tourists as soon as the June 4th. However, France is upset because that was a unilateral decision. But I need to back up a little bit because of we haven't really covered the fiasco of the nursing home fiasco in the UK. I have these videos to play on the back screen here.
Well, you can play Nigel for right now, or whatever that is.
No, but I don't have the little box.
Oh, dear. Okay. Yeah, I'll go get the little box.
Poor Michelle. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this. So let me wait till I get my little box. So let me go to our big story since you guys are here. Well, she gets the box and I have videos coming up. Over 1,000. This is mind-blowing to me. During the coronavirus lockdown, these illegal boat migrants, how they got 1,000, more than 1,000, it's actually over 1,000.
So you sent me the wrong title. I was wondering about that.
I did?
Well, the way you worded it, Leah sends me the titles before I put them up.
Illegal boat
migrants.
Crossings of migrants.
Right, but it's either 1,000 boats or it's 1,000 migrants. The way you had me word it was 1,000 boats.
Yeah, it is boats. Boat migrants. Sorry.
I was wondering about that, but
over 1,000 illegal boat migrants brought ashore. We'll fix the title.
I'm going to fix it right now because it's on the thumbnail as well.
Right. Sorry. Well, it's a difficult sentence to get across.
Right. Okay.
Right. More than 1,000 illegal boat migrants have reached British shores, and actually, that's the way I read it. Sorry. Since the country introduced a national lockdown in March, with people smugglers taking advantage of the coronavirus to traffic increased amounts of unaccompanied minors. Not only are they people trafficking. Oh, and by the way, if you see blue on me, it's because I changed out an ink and I can't get it off. I probably could get some mineral spirits, but I haven't tried that yet. I just tried a bunch of soap and water. More than 1,000. On Saturday, 90 migrants claiming to hail from Algeria, Libya, Eritrea, Sudan, and Senegal were brought ashore at Dover after crossing the English Channel in small boats from France, a safe first world country. The crossings brought the number of legal migrants known to have successfully made it to Britain during the lockdown to 1,064. The Immigration Officers Union told The Telegraph that during the coronavirus crisis, the French government has reduced border patrols in favor of using officers to enforce the French lockdown. So, to keep people from getting some sun, playing in a park, they're letting in illegal migrants. This is beyond insanity, you guys. The Immigration Officers Union told The Telegraph that during the coronavirus crisis, the French government has other reasons for the spike in illegal crossings include the recent spat of warm weather, calm seas, and reduced shipping traffic. And I actually have a video I'm going to play for you of Katie Hopkins today. I know she's one of whom shall not be named. But this video is from Nigel Farage. He's pretty up in arms. He's not happy about it. This exclusive footage of Dover earlier today Are we really getting the truth of the numbers illegally crossing into the UK? So,
Wow. It's
just
unbelievable.
welcome aboard. How you doing? Just make the dock. Here we go. We'll just take you into custody. They've got their life vests. They have their masks on.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Life vest. I mean, this is a legit operation.
I know.
Like, this
And they're
is
just
well
allowing it.
planned
They're
out.
not even allowing it. I mean, they're part of it.
They're part of it. Yeah, they're part of it.
Like, this is what we do. We let them all in.
Yeah, this is how you come. This is how we do. They're all ready for you.
Just like,
You're lined up. We're gonna get you
processing
processed. We'll get you
through
into
the
the country
airport or
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. The rest of us have to get passports,
Yeah.
papers, please. But no. I mean, and you know what? The big thing that bothers me is they didn't have to take their shoes off
Yeah.
and be violated at an airport.
Right. That's the truth.
You know what I'm saying?
It's upsetting.
I just think that is my number one thing. That's just not fair. Because I got to go through the airport security. They didn't have to go through the security to get on the boat. Paper. You know what I'm saying? To get here. And I'm sure they didn't even have to take their shoes off. All right. Thank you for fixing that. The British government has come under increased scrutiny for its failure to protect the nation's borders while imposing a lockdown on its own citizens. And this is all so backwards. And this I understand. We all have our brains, and we're just not understanding why people can't play in their front yard, but people can come in illegally by boat.
Right.
And you don't know where they've been. You don't know if they got coronavirus like in their pants. Like just go stick people with it. Like you don't know. But people just playing out front with their kids are given fines and told that they're killing people. But these people are welcomed by the lefties. Come in. It's crazy.
Can you not play any videos while I'm gone? Because it'll mess with the lighting.
But that's like half my show.
I'll be gone for 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll try. I'll just talk, I guess. That's sad. However, that was not the case. Oh, see. The British government has come under increased scrutiny for its failure to protect the nation's border while imposing a lockdown on its citizens. The Home Office was reportedly striking a deal with France that would allow British ships to patrol French waters and send migrants back rather than taking them ashore. They were supposed to have a deal with France. Hello? That didn't happen. That was not the case, especially for 90 migrants yesterday. Migration Watch UK, a leading think tank, said the biggest incentive for those attempting dangerous channel crossings is the knowledge that being picked up by a British border force vessel or managing to set foot on our soil provides a strong chance of permanent stay. One way to neutralize this would be the UK and French government agreement that anyone intercepted, whether in the Channel or on reaching the UK shores, will be returned immediately to France where an application for asylum could be made. Ultimately, it would be in the French interest to prevent such departures, the mass migration skeptic group suggested. The spike in migrant boat crossings has coincided with an increased amount of migrants claiming to be unaccompanied minors making the dangerous journey from France. Last week alone, at least 20 alleged minors were picked up in small rubber dinghies by the British border force. People smugglers in Calais have reportedly lowered the fees they charge migrants to cross the channel. So it's discount time, baby. It's discount time. Times are hard. It's Corona hard, and we are just offering discounts because it really doesn't cost us anything at all. So, you know what? It's 50% off crossing to UK time. £3,000. These people, where are you coming up with £3,000? £3,000 last year, but now the discount, it's $1,500. $1,500. As a result, more migrants from poorer countries are attempting to cross because, hey, I got 1,500 pounds. Baby, we can do this. I got the discount. And that is what's really causing it. I mean, like, everybody loves a discount, even illegal migrants. It has also incentivized more minors to make the journey, with some fearing that they are being trafficked into sexual slavery, which is crazy and awful. It's rare to have children on this route, and even more so to have unaccompanied minors. It's a route that costs a lot of money. Somebody has paid for these children to be put at risk. It's important to identify the individuals and to ensure that minors are not being trafficked into worse situations. Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage warns that the invasion is on, in reference to the recent surge in migrant crossings. Nigel, the invasion is on. I'm just going to take a peek and see what else he said. That was just an hour ago. He tweeted that out. If only it were that simple, he'd retweeted this out. I'm at Dover to stop. You can't really see it. The Euro invasion. And he says over 100 migrants legally entered the UK by small boat today. So Breitbart was saying 90. He's saying 100. The invasion is on. And I guess here's some Brexit news. More on Brexit. A senior official closer to the talk said that UK will not change its approach and can live with no deal. Huh. We've always made it clear that if an agreement can be reached, then trading on what we call Australian terms is perfectly doable and satisfactory. Well, there you have it. Perfectly doable. That's good. That's good. He says, there are multiple hand car wash sites operating in Dover, already clearly breaching social distancing rules. A modern-day slavery ring caught in the same town was found guilty in July 2019. Why did the police knock on my door but turn a blind eye to this scandal? Huh. Well, there you have it. All right. So, why would these people count as refugees? France is a safe country. That's a really good question. Really good question. And here, delighted to see that the mainstream media are at least picking up on this. Another boat today with 15 people despite rough weather, and that was on the 15th.
During the early morning on Friday that the British Border Force
I know. Just listen.
Picked up 8 different inflatable boats across the English Channel and brought them into harbour here with 145 people on board. Thought to be a record for one day. On Saturday, they picked up another 6 boats with a further 82 people. On Sunday, another boat with 17 on board. 244 in just 3 days.
That is the Crick Report. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So, what are your thoughts on that? Beginning of an invasion, UK boat migrant influx has hit a new record. So we talked about that. He literally says this is the beginning of an invasion. On Friday, the Home Office confirmed 145 boat migrants were brought ashore at Dover by the Border Force, the most ever recorded in a single day. The following day, we talked about 82 migrants. French authorities stopped only 77 migrants before they were able to reach British territorial waters over the same period. Isn't that so great? Like, seriously, the French are like, you know what? That's your territory. Those are your waters when the migrants cross. But when it comes to fishing, like, hey, we all in the same boat. Water's water. I want to fish here. Anybody else see, like, a conundrum there? Like, hey, your waters, your migrants. Your water's my fish. Like, hello. Somebody is not playing by the same set of rules. Okay. As I have predicted, a record number of illegal migrants have been taken into Dover all along the coast. There are many more, Farage says, in response to the record-breaking crossings. This is the beginning of an invasion. Speaking on his LBC radio program, Mr. Farage urged that at some point in time, we have to get a grip on this. There's nothing good about what is going on in the English Channel. Responding to concerns that the growing number of illegal aliens being brought to British shores could be a vector for the Chinese coronavirus, a Home Office spokesman confirmed that individuals were brought to Dover and, in line with established processes, were assessed to establish whether they had any medical requirements. The migrants will likely be afforded the opportunity to apply for asylum, as entering the country illegally from a safe country is not grounds for deportation, which probably should be. A report from the anti-mass migration think tank Migration Watch UK found that some 3,200 legal boat migrants have reached British shores since the beginnings of 2018. During the same time period, the British government has deported just 155 bogus asylum seekers. The report also revealed that between January and February of this year, the number of detected arrivals has more than doubled compared to the same period over last year. How are you feeling?
A little bit better.
Well, I could just do the show, man.
It's fine.
All right. So here we have. They do not have time.
You were talking about donuts?
No, they don't have time or efforts to patrol the waters and keep illegal migrants out of the waters.
Donuts.
But they got a lot of time the police are hunting a driver who kissed an elderly woman on the cheek for sexual assault.
Oh, dear.
Derbyshire police are trying to hunt down a lorry driver who gave a woman in her 70s a thank you kiss on the cheek after she helped guide his vehicle out from under a bridge. The police force, which drew criticism in recent months for deploying a special drone team to harass lone ramblers and dog walkers for taking socially distanced exercise in the middle of nowhere, they really were just cranking down on y'all and your dog walking. But legal migrants coming in, no big deal.
Okay, here's my question though. Are you going to read about this story, the details? Because, did she file or was this a drone?
She filed. So, tweeting that the gesture would be classed as a sexual assault as the woman did not ask the man to kiss her on the cheek. We want to speak to anyone who was in the area at the time and may be able to help our inquiries into the incident of particular interest. Now, here's the thing. We got migrant rape gangs, right? We got sex trafficking. You've got all kind of nasty business going on in the UK.
Right.
An old lady in her 70s helps a guy navigate under a bridge. He kisses her on the cheek, says, "Thank you, ma'am." And we got to get this guy. All forces. Got to get him. Now, this is the case. What do we call the case where I don't like just, swallowing the camel, swatting in an act. I come up with something else for the insanity of backwardness, of going after something so little and minuscule and doesn't even matter, and ignoring the big picture. Give me a word for that, or a phrase that we can use on this show, because it happens all the time, and I need a really good way to explain this.
Ignoring the elephant in the room.
No.
That's one I got.
No. They wrote in an online appeal, because they're actually doing something. They're not just ignoring, they're going after this guy. They wrote in an online appeal.
The elephant in the room, which is all the other things.
Right. Now deleted as a result of public derision which they received. I mean, this was all over Twitter. People were like, "Are you serious right now? Are you serious?" On May 4th, police chiefs tell cops to stop doing dancing, rapping, and TikTok challenges on duty. But you can't get the illegal migrants, right? We issued an appeal for information this morning after a woman was kissed on the cheek. I can't even say it without laughing. In an unwanted gesture from a man she did not know. The social media post drew a significant number of comments that were counterproductive to the nature of the appeal, and as a result, the decision was made to remove it. They were clear that they have not given up the hunt for the driver, however, adding, "It is important to note that people with information related to the incident can still get in touch with us.
What?
If they can help." Derbyshire police are alleged to have been less zealous in the pursuit of other criminals, such as Asian grooming gang rapists, with a 2011 report by the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Center suggesting that their crimes were not properly investigated. You know why I think that? Because this old woman says, "Oh, I didn't want a kiss on the cheek, a thank you kiss on the cheek," but they think that the girls in the grooming gangs wanted to be groomed and be ganged up on. So there we have the latest news. I'm glad we're going after the cheek kisser to a 70-year-old woman as a thank you. Like, I understand at that point we have reached, like, the Me Too movement. You went too far, okay? Like, seriously. I know people in the UK and France and Italy, they just kiss each other to greet and say hello.
I know.
So, like...
Which is kind of one of the reasons why the virus got
right.
kind of out of hand.
Right. So, we're going to cover some of the openings, and if you want, it's probably going to be easier if you go and open up the videos and you can play them
from YouTube.
From the tube of the U. Yes. So, this was... I'm pretty sure I got this one right. If this is the right one. Because, let's see, there was a man who was in a relationship with a migrant male was killed by him. And I think this is the same story, but if not, I'm going to read this one. Leftist groups decry racist comments after pro-migrant charity head is murdered by a migrant. It's kind of a big title. Mouthful. Let's break it down. French pro-migrant groups have denounced racist comments online following the murder of a Migrant Aid Association head, Jean Ducine, who was killed by an Afghan migrant earlier this week. Jacques Descominil, president of the St. Louis Committee of the Movement Against Racism and the Friendship Between Peoples.
Isn't that Saint Louis?
Saint Louis, there you go. Yeah, president of the Saint Louis, thank you. Labeled the comments posted on social media after the death of the activist unacceptable and obnoxious. Some take advantage of this and make an entire community bear the responsibility of a man whose motives are not known. Of the murder of Mr. Ducine, of murder of him by the migrant. We are seeing the development of a discourse that says that immigrants are criminals, murderers, bandits. I'm so worried about this. The 63-year-old activist, Jean Ducine, was found bludgeoned to death in his home city of Cherbourg on May 12th, with reports alleging he had been killed while sleeping. Oh. French prosecutor Yves Leclerc stated that the Afghan broke into the house of the activist to murder him, saying, okay, so this is the second murder. Okay, there was another murder of a man who was in a relationship with a migrant, so there's been two. There are no traces of reciprocal violence. You would think that Jean Ducine did not have time to defend himself. The 21-year-old Afghan national later confessed to the murder following his arrest. The murder is not the first time a pro-migrant activist has been killed by a migrant since the height of the 2015 migrant crisis. In September of last year, 27-year-old Andre was found dead in her home after being stabbed to death. Her boyfriend, a Sudanese national, was later arrested.
What is in these people that makes them just randomly kill people?
2018, Germany saw a similar case involving a 24-year-old pro-migrant activist named Sophia Loesch, who went missing in June. Her body was found later in Spain.
Wow.
And then a 40-year-old Moroccan truck driver was later arrested in connection to the murder and allegedly admitted to placing her body near a petrol station. And there was another one this week that was in the headlines of a man who was in a relationship with a migrant killed by him, but I don't want to take the time to go
wait,
find
hang on. Wait. A man was in relationship with a migrant.
Yes, I'm gonna have to tell you about it.
I'm just trying to follow this story.
Let's see if I can find it. I thought that was the one. I didn't know it was the second one. Here we go. No. I'm going to have to find that one out later.
Oh, it's not important.
Yeah, it's not important.
Not really. Is that Channel 4?
No. I don't have any Channel 4s up.
Okay,
that's
good.
BBC. Usually,
Usually
BBC will let us in for a little bit. Let us play them for a little bit. Channel 4, we cannot play any, or we get totally...
We got a video taken down last week. It was from the 3rd. That whole video is blocked. I haven't had time to...
Really? I wonder if we watch a video. It wasn't Channel 4, so now I need to know who's...
I know, I need to know what it was,
so I can know who not to play again. All right. So, here we go. Spain eases their lockdown. May make masks mandatory everywhere in public. Spain's health minister says the government will consider making the use of face masks mandatory in public places. They are not, very interestingly enough, made mandatory yet. Face masks in Spain are currently only mandatory on public transport, while strongly recommended in public places. Many people do wear them out while out of their homes after Spain managed to overcome a scarcity of masks in the first weeks of the pandemic. Health Minister Salvador Illa said Sunday that there is wide consensus among Spain's regional governors to reinforce the obligation to wear masks. Illa said the ministry's experts still need time to study the details on the new restriction. Spain is emerging from a strict lockdown that has slowed down a COVID-19 outbreak that has killed more than 27,000 people in the country and infected more than 77,000 people. Spain's two largest cities are still largely shut down, while most of the country has begun to reopen following a lockdown to fight the coronavirus pandemic. Madrid and Barcelona have been told to wait by the government's health officials since they have been the hardest hit areas and need to improve their capacity to monitor new cases. That has led to complaints by Madrid's regional leaders and to daily protests of a few hundred people in one of the capital's upscale neighborhoods and other cities like, Salamanca and Zaragoza. Many marchers carrying Spanish flags and shout freedom. So there's a lot of protests. So I had a message from we have a Serbian viewer who lives in Germany, and I asked, hey, how are things going over there? And he said one thing that people are not covering are the massive protests. And they're trying to keep it on the down low. And it's actually, there's a resist called Resistance 2020. And there I have a video up where actually they're decrying the resistors as conspiracy theorists. Very interesting there. Spain's right populist Vox Party and right-wing extremists hateful people. Spain's right populist Vox Party and other conservative leader of the region have voiced their support for the protests, saying the city's economy must restart soon to save jobs. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez made a plea on Saturday for his detractors to consider that keeping the health crisis under control was key to protecting the country's fragile economy. By saving lives, we also save business and jobs, he says there. In Hungary, Hungary's conservative government sounds alarm on Facebook's new Soros Oversight Board. The Hungarian government is sounding the alarm over a powerful new oversight team for content shared on Facebook, denouncing it as a Soros Oversight Board. Hungarian Premier Viktor Orban is something of an arch nemesis to George Soros, who is himself Hungarian. And he shut down George Soros' school there. I love it. I love Viktor Orban. There are very few leaders that I just admire.
No, we want to be friends with him. I would want to be friends with Viktor Orban.
That's the best way to put it. I want to be friends with Viktor Orban.
If anybody can make that happen.
Yeah. The 89-year-old George Soros, pro-open borders plutocrat and convicted inside trader, frequently making a point of calling out his efforts to undermine the Hungarian government's strong pro-borders anti-mass migration policies in a highly public manner. Soros, in turn, has waged a sustained public relations and lawfare campaign against Orban, alleging that the Hungarian leader has attempted to run the Central European University, which he funds out of the country, and attempting to overturn a Stop Soros package of legislation intended to make non-governmental civil society organizations and NGOs to be more transparent about their sources of foreign funding. Soros does not only pick fights with Hungary's conservative leadership, however, also turning his influence and fortune against targets including U.S. Donald Trump, Brexit, and most recently, Facebook boss Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg might seem a strange target for Soros, but the left liberal explained his grievance against the tech tycoon in January in an opinion piece in the New York Times, namely that he has been insufficiently vigorous at curbing the ability of President Trump and his supporters to use social media to get him reelected. I repeat and reaffirm my accusation against... That's a little French, sorry. I was trying to be like the emperor, against Facebook and under the leadership of Mr. Zuckerberg and his Sherry Sandberg. They follow one guiding principle: maximize profits irrespective of consequences, which is actually not true. Absolutely not true.
Facebook has been trying to censor us since actually before the election. They were trying. They were unsuccessful. Then they really tried in 2017.
So what Hungary is saying is that Zuckerberg caved to Soros.
Right.
Okay. Establishing this high-powered appeals board, which will make final rulings on whether Facebook posts violate the platform standards on nudity, hate speech, and insensitivity. Because calling Orange Man bad isn't insensitive, right? An investigation, if you really believe he's Hitler, then you're allowed to call it out, right? An investigation into the people currently announced for the board has led the Hungarian government to conclude that it is not some neutral expert body, but a Soros oversight board intended to placate the billionaire. Of the 4 co-chairs on this new board, only one can be called a conservative, complained Zoltán Kovács, Hungary's Secretary of State for Public Diplomacy. A bit of digging reveals many ties to Soros-funded organizations and mouthpieces. Co-chairs, let's see, let me see, wait a minute. He co-chairs the Hungarian raised issues with, I think that might be a bad sentence, included Catalin Borro Marino, a board member of the pro-abortion Center for Reproductive Rights, funded by Open Society. Okay, so co-chairs that they're worried about is this Catalina Marino is a board member of the Pro-Abortion Center for Reproductive Rights.
Why do they always
funded
list people's all of their names
by Open Society Foundations? That is Soros's flagship NGO, and Thorning Schmidt, former Prime Minister of Denmark, who's unequivocally and vocally anti-Trump, and serves alongside Soros and his son Alexander as trustee of another NGO. Thorning Schmidt is also the wife of an anti-Brexit Labour MP, Stephen Kinnock, and the daughter-in-law of former Labour leader and European Commissioner Neil Kinnock. Lastly, among the board chairs, we have a Columbia University professor, Jamal Green. He served as an aide to Senator Kamala Harris during Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings. These co-chairs apparently then handpicked the other board members for Facebook's oversight board, how convenient, who appear to range from left liberal to far left liberal. So, a program manager at the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, a judge for the European Court of Human Rights, and the founding dean of legal studies at Soros's Central European University, and a former head of Article 19, generously funded by Open Society. These guys are George Soros henchmen.
Right.
And Hungary is on top of it. You know what? The bigger story here is not that Facebook is putting George Soros puppets to censor us, but that Hungary is onto them and calling them out.
I love it.
A country we didn't talk about 3 years ago.
No.
Sorry, Hungary, Poland. Didn't hear much from you. You know, we just pictured you in your nice little, dresses and skirts and, almost like this
Pretty colors.
Yeah. So, God uses the simple things of this world to confound the wise. And sometimes, and this is the way it is biblically at least, God will use, I don't know if you guys know much about David. Okay, I'm going to bring my chair up.
David was, the Bible David.
He was a little shepherd
King
kid.
David.
Nobody thought much of him. And actually, when Samuel, who came to anoint David?
Samuel.
Yeah. When he came to anoint David, he's like, I know you got all your sons here, but there's got to be somebody else because I'm not seeing them. And they're like, he's just a shepherd. He's like a nobody. Okay? God picks the nobodies. Okay? And here's the thing. And he makes them somebody. You know why? So that God gets the glory. You know why God is revealing special wisdom to Hungary? Because Hungary is hungry for the gospel. Hungary is hungry for Jesus. Hungary wants God to be Lord of their country. And so God is giving them insider knowledge. And they're going after them in a political and spiritual manner. And so I want you to lift up Viktor Orban. And I want you just to keep praying, hedge of protection, that the EU will not be able to come against them and bring them down. Because there are very powerful spiritual forces trying to bring these people down.
Yes.
Go Hungry. So we're going to Greece. Greek churches reopen after months of lockdown. Churches throughout Greece have opened their doors to the faithful after 2 months. They limited the number of congregants and dispensed disinfectant outside, but communion was given using the same spoon.
What?
So this is where we say that's stupid, because you can get a lot of things from the same spoon. I think the problem is they do believe that it turns into the blood of Jesus, and the blood of Jesus should heal all things. But here's the thing. God don't tell you just to take away common sense.
So this is the problem, actually. So I've never heard of using a spoon. But I know that the Catholics usually use a cup. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they wipe it in between each person. And I've said this before on the show. I don't hate on people that get herpes of the mouth. We call them cold sores over here. That being said, I don't think that the blood of Jesus is stopping that from transferring to each person. And I actually am not a germaphobe. I would drink and eat after my friends if I wasn't terrified of getting cold sores from people. Like, that's literally the only thing that I'm really terrified. Getting a cold, I don't care. The flu, I don't care. Well, now we're in COVID-19. We got to nix all that, right? But it's never made sense to me why that is okay.
Why it has to be
do
a thing.
all Catholics have herpes of the mouth now? Because, I mean, we call them cold sores. But seriously, this is like terrifying to me. You don't drink after people. They're assuming that if you have one, you don't participate in communion. And I'm just like, people don't do that.
No.
So no, when you've got a worldwide deadly disease that you are telling people that they have to close down their jobs, that they have to not visit their elderly, that they have to wear masks in public. I mean, you go to the most extreme of things, and yet you will share a spoon with all these strangers. No.
Those who flocked to churches for Monday Mass sat 3 chairs apart and observed social distancing, but drank from the same. Why not sit next to each other if you're going to drink from the same spoon? At least 5 feet apart. The number of people attending were limited to 1 per 10 square meters.
No, if you're sharing the same spoon, all of that is moot.
Exactly. Many were left outside but avoided crowding, and churches used loudspeakers to broadcast Mass. Some churches performed Mass 2 or 3 times to accommodate the number of people who showed up. Greece is gradually easing strict quarantine measures, which were imposed in March and have helped limit fatalities from COVID-19 to 162. Greece is doing pretty good. There have been fewer than 3,000 confirmed cases. They're doing pretty good. Also, the sun, they're outside a lot.
Yeah.
Really healthy over there.
Maya sent me a text message and asked why I sound like I've been hit by a truck. Because of my neck, man. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the dog that stayed here overnight sleeping with me.
That usually does
I've
it for
been
me.
meaning to stretch my back for a few days. It's been starting to really, really hurt, and I usually stay on top of it. But I really...
Where's the pain be gone?
I did. I went upstairs and I took some Aleve, turmeric, and
Pain
put
Be Gone.
on Maya's Pain Be Gone.
If you guys listen...
And Catherine's mom's shoulder rub. I was just slathering
Maya
it all
has
on.
products. We put it in the description all the time.
Yes.
The Pain Be Gone. You guys all need
It's
to order
amazing.
that from Maya. Malta ambassador says Merkel has fulfilled Hitler's dream to control Europe.
Oh, jeez.
This is my favorite. This is my bad guy hat, by the way.
It's your German hat.
It's my German bad guy hat. Malta's ambassador to Finland has had to resign his post after saying Germany's Angela Merkel has fulfilled Hitler's dream to control Europe on social media. 75 years ago, we stopped Hitler, wrote Michael Zamet Tabona in a Facebook post commenting Victory in Europe Day. Who will stop Angela Merkel? She has fulfilled Hitler's dream to control Europe, he added. Malta, as a former crown colony of the British Empire, was
You don't look like much of a bad guy because your hat's sideways. I mean, mine is too, but there you go. That's better. Now you're more bad
was
guy.
the linchpin of the Allied presence in the Mediterranean for much of the war, and its population was bestowed with a collective George Cross, which still adorns the national flag today, for the long siege it suffered at the hands of the Axis powers. The modern-day ambassador's remarks, however, were not well received. Go figure. Either in Berlin or the Maltese capital of Valletta, with Foreign Minister Evarist Bartolo telling the Times of Malta that he had been told to take down the post and promising the Germans would receive an apology for its insensitive nature. Despite the florid terms in which they were expressed, the sentiments of the ambassador, now confirmed to have stepped down, are not unique in Europe, with commenters such as Britain's Peter Hitchens having suggested that the European Union in particular is the continuation of Germany by other means. We kind of say that around here because we have actual facts to back it up. IG Farben, chemical company,
Right.
gassing the Jews. What happens to those people running IG Farben? Nothing. They get like maximum 7 years in prison. They come back out. They get a new name. What's their one of the dudes come and starts a new company? You take it almost every day. I'm sure it's called Bayer Aspirin. And then these guys come together in the 50s and 60s after they get out of jail, and they're like, "We have new plan. War. That's war, by the way. War, no good. This is not working. Let's go. Let's do other plan. Let's get people in voluntarily, okay?" And that is, it's just the truth.
Free trade.
Germany does indeed appear to have an outsized influence within the EU, with Chancellor Merkel currently enjoying her fourth consecutive term in office. Albeit with her party forced into a so-called grand coalition with its traditional Social Democrat Party rivals. While her having made a particularly large impact on the bloc with her unilateral decision to let in an unlimited number of migrants and refugees in 2015, while her invitation was technically speaking only to Germany, the move had an enormous impact on the EU's border states and the states standing between them and Germany, many of which ended up stuck with large number of illegal migrants. There we have actually other news from Germany. Michelle, if you would like to bring up, I got a couple videos on opening up football to empty stadiums. You'll see then there's a couple videos. All eyes on Germany as Bundesliga starts. Say it for me, guys. Bundesliga.
Here, I'm playing it right here, man.
You have an ad? It's an ad first.
Is it an ad?
Yes.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, guys. Yep, it is.
One of the things that will leap out this weekend is the atmosphere in the stadiums, or rather, lack of. With very few people allowed inside the arenas, these matches will be like nothing experienced by the multi-millionaire footballs before. Apart from perhaps early days playing football in the parks. If you catch Borussia Mönchengladbach playing Cologne on TV, you will at least be spared the view of banks and banks of empty seats. Mönchengladbach, for just €18, will put a cardboard cutout of a fan in a seat in the stadium. The strangest aspect, however, is sure to be the lack of noise in the stadiums. The atmosphere at these so-called ghost games will be deathly quiet. You'll be able to hear players call to each other, coaches call from the sidelines, balls bouncing on running tracks.
It might be nicer.
But one German company thinks it may have come up with a solution.
It's cool, you know, you press a button and the whole stadium is cheering. It's fun.
No.
Munich-based HackCare has created a phone app where a fan can create cheers, jeers, whistles, boos, all at the touch of a button.
It's not the real thing. We'll never say it's the real thing. But it's so much better than nothing. You know, it's like amazingly better than nothing.
It won't come in time for this weekend's action, but the company says it's in talks with all the big German soccer clubs. The league itself is not keen on fans being replaced by artificial sound, but this could be the ultimate in interactive support. The lack of atmosphere will have very little bearing on the players' commitment to the game, but it will be interesting to see how they respond to the close proximity of tackles and headers, given that they are currently still in quarantine. The now customary celebrations of effusive kissing and hugging and pylons in the corner may also be a thing of the past. Certainly
No
if
more
Simon
kissing
Klug features
and
for
hugging.
Hertha Berlin, he'll be forgiven for keeping himself to himself a bit. The player was suspended at the start of the month for shaking a teammate's hand. The all too common sight of players racing towards the referee to protest a decision may also be a thing of the past, now that they've been told to keep their distance as much as they can.
Tatsächlich gestern Abend jetzt erfahren, dass ich einen Mundschutz tragen muss. Ich muss ja dann kurz bevor ich anfangen will zu schreiben, den Mundschutz runterziehen.
You want me to go back?
Yeah, for the people listening.
Okay. Let's see. I don't think I went back and forth. All right, I'll have to pull the mask off my face to scream, and then put it back on again when I stop. That's hard to coordinate.
It will be interesting to see if the enforced layoff has had any influence or impact at all on form. With Bayern Munich leading the table and heading towards an 8th consecutive title, it's still going to take an awful lot to shift them.
Okay, you can play the next one. It's I just played it. That one. That one. There we go.
Es ist sehr, sehr speziell, ich denke, für alle.
Okay, just mute it. We'll read it. It's very odd for all teams and coaches too.
Hang on, wait, I can probably turn it.
It's very odd if you don't have any noise.
Speaking of noise, we'll just let it play low.
Kein Lärm, du schießt aufs Tor, du machst einen Top-Pass.
You shoot, you score, you make a great pass, and nothing happens.
Du hast nichts passiert.
The Bundesliga has become the first football to start. Matches were played behind closed doors with no spectators. Social distancing measures put in place wherever possible. We hope that soon it won't be like that anymore and that we can celebrate our victory in a full stadium. It's still hard to tell the players that they can't celebrate, especially in our situation with all the pressure that's happened. Over the past few months, it was redemption. It's just difficult then, and I hope that people will show a little understanding. I think that is very important. I know what it's like without fans from the under-19. I was under-19 coach, so I remember that. As far as it felt, I was so prepared for that game that I didn't think of it as something unusual. This is all unusual to me. It's all unusual. Okay, you can bring up... there's a couple of videos out of Germany while we're there. Germany infections rise as restrictions ease. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. There we go.
This one?
Yep.
Let me rewind it.
Yes, please.
Turn the volume back up.
Virus infections are soaring after taking early steps to ease its lockdown. News that has sounded a global alarm as businesses from Parisian hair salons to Shanghai Disneyland reopen. Germany reported that the reproduction rate, meaning the number of people each person infected with the coronavirus goes on to infect, had risen. This comes just days after German authorities relaxed lockdown measures, and it shows just how quickly progress can be reversed, even in a country with one of the best records for containing the virus so far in Europe. And Germany is not alone. There's been a new outbreak in nightclubs in South Korea, another country that had succeeded in limiting infections. Governments around the world are struggling with the question of how to reopen their economies while still containing the virus. In Europe, the world's worst-hit continent, Spain and France began major steps to ease their lockdowns, while Britain announced more cautious moves. Mickey Mouse welcomed small crowds in Shanghai as their Disney-themed park reopened with a strict limit on the number of tickets. Parades and fireworks were cancelled, and workers and guests were required to wear face masks and have their temperatures screened at the entrance. New Zealand, which also had success in fighting infection with one of the toughest and earliest lockdowns, said it would reopen malls, cafes and cinemas this week. But some countries are taking steps to open up their economies without yet reporting sustained falls in the spread. India, which has locked down its population of 1.3 billion people since March, reported a daily rise in cases. But it said it would restart some passenger railway services with 15 special trains running from Tuesday. In the United States, unemployment figures released last week were the worst rate.
On that Shanghai Disney thing, my opinion is that they're using Chinese people kind of as guinea pigs to see how they could reopen Disney World and Disneyland here in America.
Oh, wow. That's awful.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it looks really weird, and I can't imagine anybody wanting to go to Disneyland with a face mask on, standing 6 feet apart. It's like, you know what? Just take me to a park. Take me hiking. I'm not going to Disneyland. I'm not wearing a mask. Well, that's
the thing that really bothers me. Honestly.
How do you enjoy yourself at an amusement park with all these stupid restrictions?
So
it's not fun. Why would you even go? Why go?
They're opening up like amusement parks, but what about parks? You know, and that's to me what's so disturbing. It's like, okay, you'll open up an amusement park, but you won't just let people go to the park.
Yeah. We all know that amusement parks have a lot of germs. People touching things all the time with surfaces. You're in an enclosed. Anytime you're in an enclosed space.
Yeah.
There's a difference between a park and an amusement park. Right. Amusement parks have food and all kinds of germs, and you can really spread things there. All right, so go ahead and bring up my next video on Germany, which has to do with the kind of the conspiracy theories surrounding there, and people wondering what's going on. And while you're doing that,
I'm trying to find which one. This one?
You
just
played
that
one.
There was one above it. Wait,
up. There you go. Right there. So you can rewind it. But while you're doing that,
well, I'm just doing it. You want me to stop?
Yes, stop.
Okay,
please. Where's my article? Here it is. Resistance 2020. Germany's Angela Merkel is facing mounting lockdown revolt at a key meeting. Chancellor Angela Merkel faces a test of her authority on Wednesday as she meets with 16 state premiers, many of whom have brazenly ignored her pleas for caution on easing coronavirus restrictions. Germany has begun tentatively lifting its lockdown into 2 weeks ago, opening some shops and schools after infection rates came down. Merkel and state leaders agreed last week to loosen the rules further, giving religious institutions, playgrounds, museums, and zoos.
It was a Daily Wire news, I think, unless claimed by Deutsche Welle. I thought it was Daily Wire. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm looking back. You pulled up this video you want me to play as a Daily Wire video, so I don't know if that's just Deutsche Welle.
If it's the DV, then don't play it. I think that you have a DW. That's
yeah. But if you play it, it's the same thing as me playing it.
Okay, so we won't play it.
Okay.
I'll just tell you what's going on. Oh, that stinks because a bunch of my articles are from them. That's cool.
You mean videos?
Videos, yeah. Channel 4 now is calling for it, our own lockdown, I guess, and now the German news. Go figure! Germany is censoring news. But a national consensus on aligning measures to counter the virus, which was coupled with a sharp rise in Merkel's popularity, appears to have crumbled as many states have struck out alone to further ease lockdown rules. Cautious reopening. Wednesday's meeting is expected to yield details on the reopening of schools and kindergartens, as well as whether we talked about that. It was last Wednesday. The Bundesliga can become the first Europe's major football leagues to resume matches. But there are some leaders. Germany's biggest state, Bavaria, preempted federal measures by announcing that its restaurants would open from May 18th and hotels and guest houses from May 30th. State Premier Markus Söder said, "The time has come for a cautious reopening," pointing to the success in containing the virus spread. So, Resistance 2020. But although Merkel's conservative approach won her a rise in support in the early stage of the pandemic, the complaints have grown louder in recent weeks. North Rhine-Westphalia State Premier Armin Laschet has also criticized Merkel's firmer stance on restrictions, told public broadcaster ARD in late April that the negative effects of lockdown must be weighed up. He attacked what he said were the pessimistic predictions by some medical experts, pointing out that 40% of intensive care beds are empty. Demonstrations against the lockdowns were had in several German cities last weekend, and I can't find the videos. They've been scrubbed. And a new political movement calling itself Winterstad 2020, Resistance 2020. They have a website. They have a YouTube channel. Claims on its website to have more than 100,000 members. The far-right AfD, Germany's largest opposition party by number of MPs, has also attacked lockdown measures. So that's what I wanted to get to. I don't have any videos, but I'm letting you know that the Germans are protesting. They're getting out in their streets. A lot of people are questioning this globalist lockdown sentiment. So I can't show you this, but Italy is...
you probably can show it if you mute it. Obviously, you can.
But what good is muting it? It's got to tell a story.
Well, I'm just saying, while you're talking, you could play it in the background.
Okay. Well, Italy is looking to open up for tourists. France is pretty upset about it because they didn't talk to each other. And I don't to me, that's all I have. To play it, I have to play it or talk about it. Anything else? This is a video of Sebastian Kurz, who talks about his early lockdown measures from Austria and how quick he was to lock down. So now they're opening up.
Are you wanting me to pull that up?
No.
Okay.
No. And this is from Router, so we can play this. City at the center of Italy's COVID-19 tragedy works to heal their deep scar. And Lombardy was hit very, very hard. Are you playing it?
No, you said you would play it.
No.
I said, do you want me to play it? And you said, no, I'll play it.
No, I didn't say I'll play it. No, that was the Sebastian Kurz video. I'm not going to play it at all.
All right. Which one do you want me to play?
I just read it. City as center of Italy's COVID-19 tragedy works to heal deep scar.
Sorry.
You're going too far.
Oh, probably because you just pulled it up. It was at the top. No, there it is.
Okay.
I got it.
In Nembro, a village in the epicenter of Italy's COVID-19 crisis, grave after grave is marked by a simple wooden cross, adorned by a piece of paper. It tells you the deceased's name, their date of birth and death, and has a small photograph. The dates of death are all the same: March and April 2020. In the first 21 days of March, Nembro, which lies in the province of Bergamo, had a 1,000% increase in deaths compared to the same period last year. In the city of Bergamo itself, the obituary pages of its newspaper, Echo de Bergamo, became a stark and tragic symbol of the crisis. Normally, it publishes fewer than 20 death notices a day. In March, it was more like 90 a day, sometimes more than 110. Outside the newspaper's office, a large screen displays a memorial video, showing the faces of the hundreds of people whose deaths were announced in its pages. Bergamo's mayor, Giorgio Gori, says Italy will have to rediscover some of the spirit that laid the foundations for its post-war recovery, but he's confident his city will recover.
We want Bergamo, which, without wanting to, became a symbol around the world for this epidemic, to be a symbol of rebirth. We want to use all the energies that we used to resist a moment of difficulty. That strength and that cohesion must now serve to start again.
Unlike the Renaissance-era architecture, for which Bergamo's historic old town is famous, the human suffering here will one day go away. But right now, it feels like that day is a long way into the distant future.
Do you have another one you want me to play?
No. While we're in Italy, an Italian politician demands Bill Gates' arrest for crimes against humanity. So I just thought this was absolutely hilarious. In contrast to what's happening in Italy, and now the healing begins. And how does the healing even begin? Where did this virus come from? Did it come out of nowhere? Is it dying away? I think we all have this feeling that it's kind of, and people wondered, would it die away in the summer when people are outside with the sun? Will it come up again in the fall? Will it just go away completely? These are a lot of unanswered questions, but it seems to be dying off. It seems to be it seems to not have the same power that it had in the beginning.
Right.
But the difficulty with the healing is when war is over, it's over.
Right.
Right? But not knowing is difficult for people. And and now I think we're all kind of wondering, where did it come from? Where did it go? Well, it's still hanging around, but it is in lower numbers.
Well, we do know from the beginning, and I'm not a scientist, but I do know that the initial strands were stronger,
more virulent, yeah,
and that as it was being transferred from person to person, it was losing genetic information, and it kind of reminds me of hybrid fruits and vegetables.
Oh, absolutely, right.
So whenever you go into alter something that's not natural,
right,
it doesn't reproduce well.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's possible, and I'm not a scientist, I just have common sense, that the reason why it's dying off is because it was man-made. Now, was it man-made as a biological weapon? I'm not going to say that out loud on this show. You all know how I feel
really
about
say
it.
Man-made,
but it was altered, so that's man-made.
So,
like,
could we just be careful with what we say on our show? Because we don't want to be labeled.
That's why I said it wasn't a biological weapon.
Let's call it man-altered.
Okay, it was man-altered. Man had a hand in it. A big one. So they took something, and that's the way it is with anything. I mean, even plastic comes from nature at some point.
Right.
Right? Okay,
well,
so... I'll
give you an example. Somebody built this house.
Right.
We didn't make the house. We didn't build the house. We might remodel the house. So COVID-19 and coronaviruses are natural in the environment.
Yes.
So it wasn't man-made.
Right.
It was man-altered.
Correct.
Or remodeled.
Right.
Okay? Which is completely different than being completely man-made.
But in order for it to jump to human the way that it did, it needed...
It had to be remodeled a little bit.
I don't know, 100 years or something like that? To
No.
Don't quote me on that. We've said it on the show.
No, it
the
just
one
takes
lady had said that in order for it to make that jump, it needed so many years of evolution to be able this specific strain.
Okay, well let's get into some science here before we go into
the human. Hang on, let me finish my sentence. To be able to jump, and so we do know
it takes a little while
that whatever they did in the lab in their tweaking of it is what enabled it to jump to human.
A study led by Flinders University vaccine researcher Nikolai Petrovsky in Australia reveals that the SARS-CoV-2, the virus which caused COVID-19, is optimized for penetration into human cells via animal cells versus animal health cells, undermining the theory that it naturally evolved in animals before jumping to humans, according to LifeSite News' Matthew Culligan-Hoffman. This is breaking news. It's going along with what you're talking about here. Trying to be careful with our words specific in the way we are describing this.
Right, but it doesn't matter if you quote Zero Hedge, they'll still take you down. It just because Zero Hedge says it doesn't mean that it's different than when I said it.
No, Flinders University researcher.
Even if you quote
that
them,
it's
though,
different than saying man-made. I'm not trying to argue with you.
You're right. You're right about the man-made thing.
I'm saying word specific.
What
I don't have a problem with you saying that it's altered, man-altered.
I'm taking back the man-made part.
Okay, so I'm getting into the science of it to explain how this could have happened. But I don't have a problem with you saying it's man-altered.
Right.
Okay, it's man-made is the problem.
Okay.
I'm saying with all the censorship, we have to be very specific with our words.
Right.
Okay.
But we do know that just because you quote Zero Hedge or some other, you could quote Dr. Fauci himself. If it goes against their narrative, they will take you down regardless.
Petrovsky says that the results, which are not peer-reviewed, suggest a remarkable coincidence or a sign of human intervention.
That's good.
Not man-made, human intervention, a sign of it. The authors of the study, led by vaccine researcher Nikolai Petrovsky of Flinders, with the FL, like a flounder, Flinders University in Australia. Used a version of the novel coronavirus collected in the earliest days of the outbreaks and applied computer models to test its capacity to bind to certain cell receptor enzymes called the ACE2 that allow the virus to infect human and animal cells at varying degrees of efficacy.
So I want to remember that ACE2.
They tested the propensity of the COVID-19 virus's spike protein, which it uses to enter the cells, to bind to the human type of ACE2, as well as to many different animal versions of the ACE2, and found that the novel coronavirus most powerfully binds to the human ACE2, and with variously lesser degrees of effectiveness with animal versions of the receptor. So why would something that is birthed in animals be more likely to bind to humans than to animals?
Right.
Okay? According to the study's author, that implies that the virus that causes COVID-19 did not come from an animal. perfectly logical explanation. An animal intermediary, and they ruled out the pangolin. They ruled that out, but that didn't make news.
Yeah.
But became specialized for human penetration by living previously in human cells, quite possibly in a laboratory. Typically, a virus would be expected to have highest affinity for the receptor in its host species, e.g. a bat, with a lower initial binding affinity for the receptor of any new host. That's what we're talking about. It takes a lot of evolution to go from an animal and want to stay inside the human host. Okay, God has boundaries. Mankind tries to break those boundaries.
I'm pretty sure the lady that we played had said 800 years of evolution for it to... That doesn't mean that when these coronaviruses happen, what she was saying, and I'm not a scientist, it was a scientist that we were quoting on here, she was saying it takes that long for these viruses to mutate in order to jump to human.
As well as many different... I would say... They tested the propensity of the COVID-19 virus's spike protein, which it uses to enter cells, to bind to the human type of the ACE2, as well as to many different animal versions of the ACE2, and found that the novel coronavirus most powerfully binds to the human, with variously lesser degrees of effectiveness with animal versions of the receptor. According to the study's author, that implies the virus that causes COVID-19 did not come from the animal intermediary, but became specialized for human cell penetration by living previously in human cells, quite possibly in a laboratory. Typically, a virus would be expected to have the highest affinity for the receptor in its original host species. We talked about this with the bat. However, in this case, the affinity of SARS-CoV-2 is higher for humans than for the putative original host species, bats, or for any potential intermediate host species. A possibility which still cannot be excluded is that the SARS-CoV-2 was created by a recombination event that occurred inadvertently or consciously in a laboratory handling coronaviruses, with a new virus then accidentally released into the local human population, engineered naturally. In a separate statement about the research, Petrovsky suggested that SARS-CoV-2 may not have been spliced, which would leave fingerprints of a genetic manipulation, but was instead cultured to evolve. Our and other analysis of the genomic sequence of the virus do not reveal any artificial gene inserts that would be the hallmark of a gene jockey, genetic engineers who manipulate or even create viruses by splicing in artificial inserts into their genome. These are generally easily recognizable and hence clear signatures of human intervention in the creation of a virus. The fact that these artificial inserts are not present has been interpreted by some to mean that the virus is not the result of human manipulation. However, this logic is incorrect, as there are other ways in which humans can manipulate viruses, and that is caused by natural selection. What do I mean? All viruses and bacteria mutate and adapt to their environment over time with selection of the fittest individuals for survival in that particular environment. Take a bat coronavirus that is not infectious to humans and force its selection by culturing it with cells that express human ACE2 receptor. Such cells have been created many years ago to culture SARS coronaviruses, and you can force the bat virus to adapt to infect human cells via mutations in its spike protein, which would have the effect of increasing the strength of its binding to human ACE2 and inevitably reducing the strength of its binding to the bat ACE2. Viruses in prolonged culture will also develop other random mutations that do not affect its function. The result of these experiments is a virus that is highly virulent in humans, but is sufficiently different that it no longer resembles the original bat virus. Because mutations are acquired randomly by selection, there is no signature of a human gene jockey. Petrovsky finishes the thought by suggesting that the virus could have escaped the facility either through accidental infection by a staff member who then visited the fish market several blocks away and there infected others, or by inappropriate disposal of waste from the facility that either infected humans outside the facility directly or via a susceptible vector, such as a stray cat, and then frequented the market and resulted in transmission there to humans. In an email to LifeSite, Petrovsky said that the study suggests that there are some highly unusual features, including optimal human adaptation, that in the absence of identification of a close to identical virus in an animal population from which COVID-19 could have arisen would point to the direction of human intervention at some point in the evolution of COVID-19. He also noted that researchers around the world have been unable to produce evidence of the novel coronavirus in animals, which would support the theory of the natural development. Meaning, say they can't find COVID-19 in animals anywhere.
There were a couple of like cats in zoos.
Right, but that was in the Bronx Zoo. It got here somehow. If an animal vector and virus could be found, then of course this would resolve the matter completely. One would have thought that the Chinese would have been intensively sampling all conceivable animals, trying to find a virus to exonerate their labs. If no such intense search is going on, of which I don't know either way, then the inference could be that they are not looking because they already know that they're not going to find something there.
Right.
That said, Reuters molecular biologist Richard Egbright urged caution over the conclusion, telling LifeSite that while Petrosky's results are plausible, they are from computational modeling, not from experiments, and therefore must be considered provisional at best. So we're going to make that provisional at best. Okay? Whatever you want to say. Provisional at best. All right. Here is... Okay, so Russia is having coronavirus outbreaks. Russia is trying to solve the problems through social distancing. Social distancing must be enforced in the Russias. So, they have eye in sky. Russia's National Guard launches a blimp to spot the COVID-19 lockdown violators. Two mixed reviews. Okay, so how do you feel about COVID blimp eyeing you? I like it better than that mechanical dog. If you guys have seen the robot dog, not happy about that. Doesn't look like a dog. It's just a robot gonna come eat you one day. Russia's National Guard has added a steampunk vibe to the coronavirus dystopia as it launched a blimp to monitor how the lockdown is being observed in the Moscow region. Not everyone was impressed, though.
Like, you would think multiple drones would do far better than
It's a little loud. Here's filling up the blimp. With a little...
But you know what I mean? Like, we already have a lot of drones that are being used. I'm not for the drones either.
I don't know.
Why a blimp?
Equipped with the OKO-I surveillance system, the air balloon was deployed to hover several hundred meters above the ground, allowing servicemen to observe an area around 5 square kilometers. The blimp's prime task is to monitor the park and forest areas during the quarantine, making sure nobody goes into the trees, because that's where the virus will be spread. Far from impressing the isolation-weary Russians, the initiative has received quite mixed reviews on social media. Some found the technology not advanced enough, as Michelle just pointed out, wondering why the force doesn't pour its funding into shiny new drones instead. Russians, especially Muscovites, strongly associate blimps with the World War II era when aerostats were used as air defenses against the Luftwaffe.
That's what I was thinking. I think it's going to bring back like bad mojo.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like it's going to do it. It doesn't seem like it's going to do much. Okay. Also in Hungary, Viktor Orban says Budapest lockdown will now be gradually lifted across the EU. So there's my favorite European president. The gradual removal of coronavirus restrictions will begin in Budapest from Monday, bringing the Hungarian PM Viktor Orban closer to fulfilling his promise to give up the emergency powers that had angered the EU so much. So let's see what he has to say. I don't know if it's going to be in English.
It's not in English.
Okay, so sometimes they give translations. They don't have translations. So I will translate for you. Thank you, Artie. It has become clear that we have managed to curb the epidemic in Budapest as well, unless we can lift the lockdown, he announced in a video address on Facebook. However, the Prime Minister pointed out the government will be moving cautiously towards what he called the second phase of defense against the virus in Hungary's capital and largest city, which is a population of more than 1.7 million. The rest of the country saw COVID-19 restrictions removed 2 weeks ago. So far, 3,473 people have been infected and 448 have died. Low numbers there in Hungary.
Really?
Orban, compared to, what was it? Is it 38 or 27,000?
Well, again, we had talked about this, that they don't get the same amount of world travelers.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, and the closed borders keeping people safe there in Hungary. This was big news, so I'm just gonna. I don't have any spin on it. I don't have any, resistance chicks conspiracy theory, whatever.
I'll give you one. I have no idea what it is. I'll tell you my conspiracy
Chinese
theory. Envoy
to Tel Aviv found dead at his residence. Israeli Foreign Ministry confirms. This is pretty big news. China's ambassador to Israel, Du Wei, was found dead at his home on Sunday morning. Du was 57. He was found dead at the apartment of the city of Herzliya, north of Tel Aviv. Israeli police spokesperson Mickey Rosenfeld told the AFP. The report of Du's death was also confirmed by Israel's foreign ministry. Israel's media said earlier that Du's body was discovered in his bed with no signs of violence, and the police are investigating the cause of his death. Wow. It was also reported that the initial indications were that the diplomat had died in his sleep of natural causes. And that is causing a lot of rumors over here in the U.S. as well. This guy here just dying in his sleep, kind of weird.
You know what it kind of reminds me of?
This post in February of 2020.
The earliest videos of the virus where people were just like dropping dead. Because and honestly, we do know that asymptomatic people can have major damage to their lungs, and they're not. What this virus does is it makes it so that you can't get oxygen, right? So we would like to think that it was not nefarious. So if
we're in a hot war behind the scenes with China,
I want to think it's not nefarious.
And Israel is one of our greatest allies.
Yeah.
Things are happening. Mm-hmm. If you listen to Steve Bannon's War Room Pandemic, it's a hot war.
Yeah.
Trump is saying things about China. China's saying things about the United States. Things that you would not, we have China punching back and Trump punching at China. Pompeo, everybody's saying, this is the Chinese virus. We talked about this. U.S. senators and things who want to sue China. It's kind of a really big deal. So to have the Israeli, the Chinese ambassador to Israel die, I'm not going to take it as being natural causes. I would hope that he wasn't murdered or killed, but you would think that if somebody was that angry about the virus, they might try to kill the Chinese ambassador. I'm not kidding you.
I think that whenever anyone of note, whether it's a celebrity or politically or whatever, dies, even if it's a car wreck, you have to question it. But especially when it's completely random.
Yeah, so Pompeo sought to urge the Israelis against trading or investing with China, especially the agreement for China to start operating Haifa port in 2021. On Wednesday, Mr. Pompeo denounced Chinese investments in Israel and accused China of withholding information about the coronavirus outbreak. Washington has sought to strip China of ability to exercise influence in this strategically key part of the Mediterranean, where the U.S. Navy's Sixth Fleet often docks and restocks. Du Wei reportedly specifically condemned Pompeo's anti-Chinese rhetoric on its official website days ago. There's nothing official yet out of this death, but the level of conspiracies and anti-China comments after the death of the ambassador reached a crescendo on Sunday afternoon, Jerusalem Post wrote. This is also due to it being rare that an ambassador dies while on the job, as multiple reports have noted. Pretty big deal.
So, Maya says the COVID symptoms are very similar to cyanide poisoning.
Very interesting. Very interesting. In India, so let me give you some updates over here. This is Zero Hedge's updates of everything. Let's see. I don't really want to do new U.S. news for you guys.
Well, you can.
All right.
Around the world,
they might want to scrambling to contain another outbreak in a remote northeastern province situated along China's border with Russia. They're saying that Russians brought in more virus cases. Several towns are being isolated there in northern China.
So they're saying that the Russians brought in the virus into China?
But China sent the virus to Russia, got rid of it in its country, and now whenever they have an outbreak, it's somebody else bringing it back in.
Sure it is.
All while Beijing implicitly blames Russia for the outbreak by pinning the responsibility on citizens returning from Russia. Also, while rolling out mass testing plan in Wuhan that some experts have warned could actually contribute to another outbreak by forcing millions of people to gather in densely packed areas to be swabbed. But in Beijing, where most of the foreign journalists living in China reside, the government has just told citizens that they can move about outside without their masks. However, at least one CNBC reporter claims she still didn't feel safe enough to do that. In India, Modi extended his country's 2-month-old lockdown, one of the most strict in the world, until May 17th. But it's today.
Right.
So this now fourth extension, which some locals are calling a lockdown 4, will inevitably add to the pressures facing the Indian economy. I believe that it's got to be a misdate because this article came out today.
Okay.
So it happens. You know, you're writing a lot of articles because there's a lot of crazy things going on.
So I just had a thought, you know, and we don't wear masks here. We don't have to. And I say we, I mean our family. When we go places, we haven't yet gone to a place where they said we had to wear a mask in order to get in. Mm-hmm. We probably would. We carry them with us. It's not really a mask. It's like a do-rag or, you know, scarf or whatever. But I was thinking about, I kind of just asked myself the question, I would never be in one of these Asian countries, but if I was, as an American, if I was in one of these Asian countries or even in like New York or something like that, would I wear a mask? Well, I would only wear one if I had an N95 mask, because that's the only kind that will protect you.
Right.
Okay, now I know that may sound awful, like, I'm not trying to protect. Here's the deal. The cloth masks don't protect you.
Okay, let me explain. Here. The lockdown is extended for 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
For another 2 weeks.
Right.
To explain that. I just
so
wanted to get that right.
As far as protecting myself, I don't want to get the virus. I think that we had it already.
Well, with the N95 masks, you can breathe.
And with the N95 masks, you can breathe in and out. So if I had an N95 mask and I was in one of these really hard, I would wear it all the time probably.
And I would just keep sanitizing it over and over. Yeah, for sure. For sure. India is pretty hard hit just economically. The Indian Health Ministry on Sunday reported a record jump of 5,000 cases in the past 24 hours, raising the number of confirmed cases in 90,000 with 2,872 deaths. America has sent a bunch of ventilators there. India was reporting fewer than 500 positive cases and 9 deaths when the lockdown was first imposed on March 25th. So India's seen some rises there. As we reported yesterday, Brazil remains the worst affected country outside of the U.S. by daily deaths and cases. It recorded its second highest daily increase in infections yesterday, with 14,919 newly confirmed cases, bringing the total to 200,033 over the past 4 days. Now remember, Brazil didn't do the lockdowns, like, at all. Okay? He said Bolsonaro was like, let it fly. Right. But remember, they were hit first.
Yeah.
Remember the envoy that had some coronavirus cases when they were around Trump?
Yeah.
In the very beginning?
Yeah.
While the newest batch of hotspots in Brazil, Russia, northeastern China flare up, Spain reported less than 100 deaths. So Spain's on its way down over the past 24 hours, making the first time the country has seen so few deaths since mid-March. Praise the Lord. Spain's Ministry of Health said on Sunday that 87 people have died, the lowest tally since March 16th. The tensions between Beijing and Australia's conservative government intensify as Cabrera warned Sunday that China's unpredictable regulatory interventions and trade are making it more difficult for Australian businesses to invest in the economic bilateral relationship that has driven a historic 30-year economic boom in Australia. Hey, slave labor is good for everybody. After breaking above 4.5 million cases yesterday, the number of official coronavirus cases topped 487,000. And we do question a lot of those. And talk about questioning, I spoke of this just a little bit ago, and I'm going to go back to this. You have a Italian member of parliament for Rome, Sarah Conill, a member of parliament for Rome, denounced Bill Gates as a vaccine criminal and urged the Italian president to hand him over to the International Criminal Court for Crimes Against Humanity.
I love it.
She also exposed Bill Gates' agenda in India and Africa, along with plans to chip the human race, the digital identification program ID 2020. What we're seeing here, and this is why this is so important to me, I get goosebumps thinking about it and pray God keeps us from being censored for even talking about it, because the way I want to explain this is that I'm reporting on this.
Yeah.
But I'm also reporting that a lot of people are opening their eyes up to maybe there might be some conspiracies going on. Mm-hmm. It's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Okay, right now there are theories out there, but theories usually start with a grain of truth. And your job and my job, this is what I told a lot of my new conspiracy theorist friends out there. You've got to read all the articles or articles against your theory. Exactly. You've got to try to disprove the theory. And the problem with like the aliens and all the different things out there is if you can't be one of those people who come up with something and then try to prove it true. Because you're not actually after truth, you're after an agenda. We here at Resistance Chicks, we have an agenda because we know truth. That is biblical truth. So I try to see everything through the lens of biblical truth. But beyond that, I don't have agenda. My agenda is truth. Okay? Regardless of left or right or Republican or Democrat or progressive or liberal, if a progressive liberal person is speaking truth, I will quote them. I will be with them. I will befriend them like we do with the food freedom movement. Okay? And a lot of those people don't realize that they are very libertarian minded when it comes to food freedom. Okay? We have to go after truth. And what you're seeing here is through the internet, you've got hungry being the people to expose and dig deep into who these people are. And I didn't even know who these people were. How did they find the list? How did they find out who these Facebook censorship people were? How did people in Hungary do it? They clicked in this little internet box, and they got some smart people to figure it out. And God led them to figure it out. And now we jump over to Italy. This is why we do our European news, because worldwide God is doing something. God is moving, and those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, God is pulling out people from all over the world. That's great. And you are one of them, okay? And here she is saying, hey, wait a minute. A woman in Italy is like saying the same thing we're saying, and how is she figured out? Does she speak English? Google Translate. They're going to not want to translate things anymore. That they're going to be like, wait a minute, what kind of intense robot have we created that can translate these documents into any language in the world? And so now she knows in Italy about Bill Gates' agenda in Italy and Africa and the chip. Nobody wants the stupid chip. Yelling. Okay?
It screeches.
As reported by the Great Game India earlier, in 2015, it was the Italians who exposed secret Chinese biological experiments with the coronavirus. The video, which was broadcast November 2015, showed how Chinese scientists were doing biological experiments on a SARS-connected virus believed to be coronavirus, derived from bats and mice, asking whether it was worth the risk in order to be able to modify the virus for compatibility with human organisms. Hello. In an extraordinary 7-minute speech, met with wide applause, Sarah Kunal, the Member of Parliament for Rome, said that Italy has been subjected to a holy inquisition of false science. She roundly criticized the unnecessary lockdown imposed by her fellow Italians in a service of globalist agenda. She urged fellow political leaders to desist in any plans to compel citizens to surrender themselves to compulsory COVID-19 vaccination at the hands of the corrupt elite whom she identified as the what?
Deep state.
It's making me so happy. When people, it's like watching your children grow up and then they become a doctor or a lawyer, and they just make you so proud. Okay, you know what I'm saying. She roundly criticized the unnecessary lockdown. Oh yeah, it's deep state. Below is the transcription of the full speech she delivered to the Italian Parliament. She's in it, and so you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna see if we can.
If it has English subtitles.
I want to see what she looks like.
Here, we can read that. Hang on, rewind it so we can read it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Please go on.
Go ahead.
Hobbes said that absolute power does not come from an imposition from above, but by choice of individuals who feel more protected, renouncing to their own freedom and granting it to a third party. With this, you're going on anesthetizing the minds with corrupted mass media, a brand of disinfectant promoted by something, the NLP, with words like regime, to allow, and to permit, to the point of allowing you to regulate our emotional ties and feelings, and certify our effects. So in this way, phase 2 is nothing else than the persecution and continuation of phase 1. You just change the name, as you did with the European stability
mechanism.
We have understood people for sure don't die for the virus alone. So people will be allowed to die and suffer thanks to you and your laws. For misery and poverty. And as in the best regimes, the blame will be dropped only on citizens. You take away our freedom and say that we looked for it. Divide and depart and conquer. It is our children who will lose, who are raped souls. Raped with the help of the so-called guarantor of our rights,
the Italian Coordination of Services Against Child Abuse.
In this way, the right to school will be granted only by a bracelet to get them to use for probation, to get them used to slavery and voluntary treatment, and to virtual legger. All this in exchange for a push scooter and a tablet. All to satisfy the appetites of financial capitalism, whose driving force is the conflict of interest.
She's got applause there.
Or unrest. Conflict well represented by the WHO, whose main financer is well-known philanthropist and savior of the world, Bill Gates. We all know it now. Bill Gates already in 2018 predicted a pandemic. Simulated in October of 2019 at the event 201 together with Davos in Switzerland. For decades, Gates has been working on depopulation and dictatorial control plans on global politics, aiming to obtain the primacy on agriculture, technology, and energy. Gates said, I quote exactly from his speech, "If we do a good job on vaccines, health, and reproduction, we can reduce the world population by 10 to 15%. Only a genocide can save the world." With his vaccines, Gates managed to sterilize millions of women in Africa. Gates caused a polio epidemic that paralyzed 500,000 children in India.
I got goosebumps. They be red-pilled. Them Matrix people be red-pilled people all over the world.
The fact that she's saying this in the Italian parliament and everyone is being forced to listen to it, whether they agree with it or not, is huge. And still today with DTP, Gates causes more deaths than the disease itself, and does the same with its sterilizing GMOs, designed by Monsanto and generously donated to needy populations.
I got me a new friend in Italy.
Generously donated.
I got me a new friend in Italy.
All this while he is already thinking about distributing the quantum tattoo for vaccination recognition and mRNA vaccines as tools of reprogramming our immune system. In addition, Gates also does business with several multinationalists that own 5G facilities in the USA.
Oh my word, she went to the 5G, baby.
On this table, there is the entire deep state in Italian sauce. Stop, pause right there.
Together with a Italian pharmaceutical company.
They are friends of Rainier Guerra, Ricciardi, and of the well-known virologist that we pay €2,000 every 10 minutes for their presentations in Ray. This Sanofi and Glaxo sign agreements with medical societies to indoctrinate future doctors. It's very true. Making fun of their autonomy of judgment and their oath. High-tech multinationals like the Roman Engineering, which is friend of the what?
Just keep going.
Okay. Bending Spoons, which are therefore control and manage our personal health issues in agreement with the European Agenda ID 2020 of electronic identification, which aims to use mass vaccination to obtain a digital platform of digital ID. This is the continuation of the transfer of data started by Renzi to IBM. Renzi in 2016 gave a plus 30% to Gates Global Fund. On the deep state table, there are the people of Aspen, like the Saxon something, who, with his 4 pages reports, paid €800 an hour, with no scientific review, dictates its politics as the Bilderberg general as he is staying away from the battlefield. This list is long, very long. In this list, there is also
the Mediatronic,
the Italian contribution to the International Alliance Against Coronavirus will be 140 millions of euros, of which 120 million euros is given to the nonprofit created by the Gates Foundation. These are just a part of the 4 billions found by the EU to find a vaccine against the coronavirus. Vaccines which will be used, as I said before. No money, of course, for serotherapy, which has the collateral effect of being super cheap. No money for prevention, a real prevention, which includes our lifestyle, our food, and our relationship with the environment. The real goal of all this is total control, absolute domination on human beings, transformed into guinea pigs and slaves, violating sovereignty and free will. All this thanks to your tricks/hoax disguised as political, while you...
Pause. I want to pause here because I just had the thought. You know, we went viral when we covered Beta Shidova's speech in Parliament. This is one of those speeches that should go viral. That if we were able to cover it as just its own video and have it go, it would go viral on YouTube. Okay? Her name would be viral right now if this was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But the very people that she's exposing in this are keeping the information sequestered just so that you know what's happening right now. Right. You're very special. You're very blessed to be able to hear this right now because of all of the censorship. The whole world would have heard about her speech.
Yeah.
But now very few are hearing
While you rip up the Nuremberg Code with involuntary treatment, fines, and deportation, facial recognition, and intimidation, endorsed by dogmatic scientism, protected by our multi-president of the Republic, who is the real culture epidemic of this country, we, with the people, will multiply the fires of resistance in a way that you won't be able to repress all of us. President of the Chamber asking for silence to the deputies. Fellow members, this is a free parliament in which anyone has the right to express his opinion, and everyone must respect them. Who do not agree will have the freedom of speaking later. Enough with this attitude. Please go to the end. Kunal, thank you, President. I ask you, President, to be the spokesperson and give and advise to our President Conte. Dear President Conte, next time you'll receive a phone call from the philanthropist Bill Gates. Forward it directly to the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. If you won't do this, tell us how we should define you. The friend lawyer who takes orders from a criminal? Thank you. Awesome. Wow. Now, I don't know, because I was reading it and we had to keep her quiet. You couldn't hear the shaking in her voice.
Oh, I know.
Because she knew that what she was saying is so humongous, so unheard of. We don't say these things. These are the types of things that we talk about on our show and others talk about, but you're not allowed to say it on the mainstream media. You're not allowed to say it in government. You wouldn't be allowed to read that speech in the UK Parliament or in Congress or the Senate in the United States. Everyone on every side would shut you down. They will only allow you to go so far. They never let you go that far. And the fact that the president was upholding her right to say all of that says a lot about Italy.
So I put her name into Twitter. A Star is Born. Italian MP Sarah Kunal, Bill Gates must be charged by International Criminal Court with crimes against humanity.
Goosebumps. Oh my gosh.
While you break the Nuremberg Code with your compulsory treatments and facial recognition, we the citizens will multiply the fires of resistance so it will be impossible for you to repress all of us.
Dear Heavenly Father, I pray that you protect this woman and you do not allow her to fall to any accidental accidents. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Yes. So somebody translated her on that day, so praise God they did that. Sarah Kunal worldwide, somebody says.
They literally do kill people for doing stuff like this.
Nahum 3:5, behold, I am against thee, says the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and thy kingdoms thy shame.
Wow,
I have goosebumps. This is so powerful. Her name is Sarah Kunal. You can read the transcript here. Where we go one, we go all. The QAnons have been sharing it. Brave Italian Congresswoman exposes Bill Gates. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Go big or go home. Grande.
She hit it all. She hit on all of it.
I just wanted you guys to see that people are seeing it. It is getting out there. Breaking Italian MP blames Bill Gates' genocide agenda, sterilization of women, quantum tattoo linked to 5G.
Event 201.
Yeah. This is, she's powerful. She's filled with the Holy Ghost. She was definitely led.
Stuart the Brit says Africa is also calling for Bill Gates to be arrested, and India and South America, etc.
So here I do have a video here from May 15th of German. Oh, sorry. Protests are loud there in Germany. It looks like a game of Red Rover, Red Rover. Let's send the other German over. I'm not exactly sure why the police are in the middle between the two. I guess they're if you're protesting, you wouldn't. If you want the lockdowns, you wouldn't be out protesting. The protesters who don't want the lockdowns, right?
Right.
Wherefore out there historic protests. I didn't grow up with all this protests. You didn't grow up with all these protests that we cover all the time.
It's interesting.
People on the streets.
I kind of wondered, and since this is our UK show and we have a lot of world people watching right now, was this something that was happening when you were younger in your country? I mean, that's where it's happening right now, right?
People are really...
I remember the worst I heard about was the IRA. When I was a kid. That we heard about that a lot. And it was a huge deal. It was a really big deal, but that's it. Like, you never heard of anything that was getting out of hand.
Right. Exactly. There's much more going on in Europe, but I think we're going to end on that because that was such a grand finale for the show. Hopefully we'll see her again, and I'll tweet that out so you guys can catch that video, grab that. So powerful. People are waking up. Things are changing. Things are moving. And it's not, and that's what Michelle was talking about. We did a show. Mom has another show. I'm not sure if we're going to do today or tomorrow or whatever. But if you didn't catch our show after our Friday show, what we're talking about is it's not the lockdowns, guys. It's not coronavirus. It's causing all this shaking and all this change, and God is moving and the devil's moving, and there's clashing in the spirit realms. And so you see this clashing here on the ground. You want to say something, Mom? No? Yes? No. Okay. No. She doesn't want to say anything. Thought she might want to come down and say something.
She's probably doing laundry.
So, do you have anything to say?
So our friend Catherine, she's quilting while she listens to our show, and she, instead of leaving comments, she was commenting via text messaging. So she says that her mom also says that if she has to wear a mask someplace, she just doesn't want to go badly enough to go, right, to wear the masks. Then she says, that's because Bavaria, where her family is from, are known for political hotheads. And then when it comes to the blimp, she says it sounds like the evil Baron of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. He used a blimp. She also says we're fueling her quilt, and she sent pictures. So, hello, Catherine. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. I'm so glad that you guys were here. Things are moving. Things are shaking all over the world. Evil is being exposed. The fact that this lady in Italy, this congresswoman in Italy, can come out and say all of these things that we've been talking about for 5-10 years, and others, the fact that it's mainstream in the sense that you can put it out on Twitter and other people know about it, not just people that are in their basements just searching this stuff. It's working. Sometimes it feels like we are fighting a battle uphill, or we're just going so against the stream that we're not making any headway. We're just speaking to an empty room. No one's hearing us. It's not making a difference. Wrong. It is making a difference in the midst of the fiercest censorship that we've seen since book burning and World War II. I mean, you can't describe the kind of censorship that they are attempting right now. In the midst of all that, it's like trying to hold water in your hand. They keep trying to hold the water in their hands, and they're squeezing their fingers as tight as they can. But the water is still getting through. The truth is still being
so true. That's so true.
Dispersed to the masses. And it's such an exciting time, because here's the deal. Truth, you hitting on that word today, Leah. Truth has power. Like, it literally affects things.
Well, when you listen to her speech, you feel it.
You know truth. Truth is something that you have to literally do something inside of your mind spiritually to deny or to not allow it to take power.
Yeah.
So the rest of the world that isn't doing that, like satanically, when they hear it, we know truth. It's like when you see the sun shining, you go, oh, that's sun. When you feel the wind blowing, you go, oh, that's wind. When you hear these truths deep inside of your spirit, even if it doesn't reach your mind, inside your spirit, you go, oh, that's truth. And a seed is planted.
Amen.
And then it finally reaches the mind until it affects a change. That's why I'm so excited about these parents that are having to educate their children at home, and they're at home more. Why? Because just hearing the truth wasn't enough. Once they experienced it, something deep within them goes, truth. I am supposed to educate my child. This is a healthy environment. Our family unit being together, this is right, because truth is immovable.
Right.
So that's where we're at right now. And I want you guys to be excited in this period of transition that we're in. We're finally starting to see the fruits of everything that we've laid down for years. And it's going to take some time for it to actually come to fruition. But just because you see a seed pop up and sprout, you don't think to yourself, we're never going to get tomatoes.
How did you decide which hole to put your neck through? That woman is heavy. I think I like heavy in a good way. She's bringing down truths. Yeah. I think that's what you're talking about anyways.
Yes, probably.
Dang, I just missed the speech you were talking about. I heard the new president of Italy is not a communist. I'm not so sure.
We'll have to see how that plays out.
We don't like Conte. Not a big fan. Africa is also calling for Bill Gates to be arrested, and India and South America.
I read that one out loud.
So, yes, and journalists disappeared in communist Russia and China. Obama spied on journalists, even put a couple in jail, I think. 500,000 people paralyzed with Bill Gates vaccines in India. Yep. Bill Gates owns a Cambridge Pharma Science lab in UK who is in charge of the COVID-19 vaccine. Michelle, poll tax riots, coal miners' battles, and race riots in the UK when I was growing up. So there were some riots
alongside with the IRA.
Alongside with the IRA.
This is all through the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
So, all right.
They're asking for a song. What do you got?
So, Stuart the Brit is back in fighting with his business. So, praise God for that.
I'm so glad. Yeah, because I think, I don't want to get this wrong. You had several employees. I want to say 20. You had to lay them off. You were closing down. I think you said that on Friday, wasn't it? And you're going to fight to remain open, and that's awesome.
Fight, fight, fight. Awesome. Song. Do we have a song? I don't know. I don't have a song right off the top of my head. We have lots of songs. I just never have one on the top of my head.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Never off the top of my head. Never off the top of my head.
Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Nothing but the blood of Jesus.
Oh,
nothing but the blood of Jesus. It washes white as snow. Salvation in the blood of Jesus. Salvation in the blood of Jesus. Salvation in the blood of Jesus. It washes white as snow. She left me. There's power in the blood of Jesus. There's power in the blood of Jesus. There's power in the blood of Jesus. It washes white as snow. Leah's got her guitar.
Okay, you guys step to the side maybe?
Oh, here, yeah.
Would you mind?
Sort of. There's a dog here.
Excuse me, doggy.
We got a puppy in the way. Oh, puppy's not in the way anymore.
Close enough.
Is there a pick over there? Thank you. I'll put it back this time.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, you went to church today. How did that go? It was the first time back in a while. They had social distance. They wore masks. They had caution tape over between each pew
to keep the 6 feet.
Yeah. I want to know if they sang.
So on Periscope, Frogs in Space says, "Yeah, ladies, the truth is undeniable. Your tomatoes died. I'm so sorry."
Oh, that happens. No, you have to go to the greenhouse and get some. Replace them. Don't give up.
Yes, don't give up.
That's what we do. Let me be singing when the evening comes. soul. I'll worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I'll worship your holy name. I'll worship your holy name. Oh, we'll worship your holy name.
Good song choice.
There we go.
Catherine had asked for the River of Life. They sang at church. They did sing. I don't know which one you're talking about. We only know the one that Leah wrote.
I don't know that one.
The River of Life.
Catherine, you have to sing it for us. I'm not sure which one that is.
Yeah, me neither.
That's a new song we gotta
learn. Let's see. Maya says I think it's time for some Christmas music. Wrong. You're just wrong about that. This is not time for Christmas music.
No. We're going to say no to that one. We're going to We're putting you in timeout for that one, actually.
Milos says, ladies, did you perhaps warn people about the most dangerous comment on YouTube that can hack their account?
Yeah, Milos, he's Serbian. He's living in Germany. He sent me a message. From what I understand, there's somehow, and I don't understand how it works, there's a comment, and it's like a comment that says, I want to be your friend.
Oh, yeah. It's this person that keeps leaving them all the time.
And don't click on it. Don't answer it. Because somehow they've been able to shut people's accounts down and hack them.
Yeah, I just delete them.
Yeah.
That would only affect
YouTube if you have a channel and you make videos.
Catherine says that Maya is right. These are why they're my friends. They're the same type of thinking people. I guess opposites attract. Because we're going to say no on the Christmas music.
Although the other day I did sing Silent Night to myself.
Hypocrite. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, she's still waiting for that song, the Winter Snow one. Yeah, I bought it. I literally bought it so that I could play it on the piano. I think it was like $3.99 to buy the sheet music. And then it was more difficult than I anticipated. She says we can sing it without playing it. Barry says, Michelle, Katie Hopkins and the British government website never got mentioned.
Oh, yeah, we never talked about the nursing homes and everybody killing everybody in the nursing homes, and we never
Thank you, Barry, for keeping us on track.
We never played the Katie Hopkins video. So this is the greatest. I don't want to end on a sad note, but what's going on in the nursing homes in the UK is pretty crazy. Let's see, BBC, if you're going to censor me or not, I don't know, but.
There's growing anger over how coronavirus has taken hold in care homes across the UK. The government suggests that 1 in 4 of the overall deaths in England have been in care homes. The National Care Association says they feel completely abandoned, while others are questioning how quickly the extra £600 million of funding for the care sector will get to those who need it. Our social affairs correspondent Alison Holt reports.
This care home in Kent was one of the first in the country to lock down, with staff moving in to try to protect their elderly residents with dementia. They're desperate for more support, but feel the government's infection control plans are very late.
Generally we start at 7:30, but I've started an hour early to make sure all the ladies are up so we can clean their rooms. Obviously we haven't had a cleaner. So it's been a bit stressful.
18-year-old Liberty, who has a bunk bed in a room shared with other staff, spends 2 weeks at a time here.
Wow. We're trying to keep the routines as normal as possible because with dementia, the second you change the routine, it gets quite confusing for the ladies. Last night we had some sad news. One of our residents passed away. It wasn't coronavirus related and it was a big shocker.
These people seem like they really care about their patients.
The government wants to reduce staff moving between homes, but in a low-paid profession, it's not clear what that means in financial terms. The home's owner says the extra costs and the pressures he's already facing are pushing his and other care companies to the brink.
It's been lonely. It's been really lonely. It's been, I've cried some nights.
Oh, we don't have the right. I hope you guys can hear it. The volume's not on the right volume.
Having to motivate people to stay in the homes. It's been really soul destroying.
You sound like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders.
It hasn't been easy. Carers have. We've struggled. We've struggled at times.
and many care homes argue they haven't had enough support. This home in Kettering is closing after serious concerns about standards of care. 14 residents have died in 6 weeks. The owners believe their problems were rooted in the discharge of hospital patients into the home. On March the 19th, when they had no signs of the virus, the home began taking in 15 patients. They weren't tested for COVID-19. About a week later, the company says residents and a large number of staff, including the senior team, became ill with coronavirus, leaving the home struggling to cope. The government says testing has been increased and it's already providing homes with a lot of support.
So there's been a sort of big national effort to assist them, and I know that the Health Secretary will be saying more about that soon, but I don't want to sort of underestimate the extraordinary work that's gone in to care homes to make sure that most of them have indeed remained COVID-free.
In Scotland, the First Minister has introduced extra checks before hospital patients are transferred to homes.
NHS tests are also given to all patients due to enter or re-enter a care home from hospital, and if they have previously tested positive for the virus, they must have 2 negative tests before entering the care home from hospital.
And care staff know they still have a long fight.
I know you don't like her, but the accent is, to me,
it's so great.
It's just like you can just listen to it.
Ahead of them to keep their residents safe. Alison Holt, BBC.
Our friend Catherine is actually learning Gaelic as we speak.
News.
Transport for London has said it's secured a £1.6 billion emergency bailout from the government to keep services running. TfL has seen passenger numbers plummet by more than 90% since the start of the pandemic. The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, had warned...
So that was that one, and I have one more. I think we'll skip the Katie Hopkins ones. This is Sky News, so here, this will be good.
That are still continuing to take the real brunt of the coronavirus pandemic, which is hitting the UK. That fresh data out today also showed that over 1/3 of nursing homes in England have been hit by COVID-19. More questions as well about whether those care workers working in those facilities have got enough PPE, things like gloves and surgical gowns. So the government really here is trying to shift that narrative along a little bit. They've introduced more money and more resources to try and throw at it, but it is the country's elderly that are really taking the hit, it seems, from COVID-19.
Clear indication of how the weather is changing in your part of the world is that that brilliant twilight that you get as you head into the warmer months behind you.
Well, there's some news for you.
Yeah, that's right. About 23 degrees today in London, which any visitors here would know is a pretty good day for old Blighty. The weather is certainly warming up, and that comes with its own challenges, of course, as the government still is trying to encourage people to socially distance and lock down as much as they can. Those easing of restrictions that you mentioned on Wednesday, one of the key parts of that strategy has been to allow people outdoors more often. There was a 1-hour cap before for people going out to do exercise.
Think about that.
Removed. People are allowed to sunbathe, go out. And with warmer weather like this, this weekend is really lining up to be a bit of a testing ground for how the public will react. A number of seaside towns have warned that people should stay clear of the beaches. Whilst you technically can swim, a lot of those councils are saying that lifeguards will not be on duty. So for people leaving...
So there's your update. And we didn't... I guess we didn't really cover how strong, how the numbers in the UK in the nursing home deaths are extraordinarily high. And the precautions not taken early on by having just a special place to send COVID-19.
Well, and they were literally
coronavirus patients
requiring these nursing homes to take COVID patients.
And again, where's my word you guys came up with? Was something that swallowing a camel, swatting in a gnat, telling everybody else to quarantine and stay inside their homes, but then sending these known virus people or not even testing to make sure to keep, knowing that the elderly are the most vulnerable.
Right.
We must keep telling the elderly people not to leave their homes to go and be with other people, but then bringing them in. saying you have to bring in everybody discharged from hospitals,
right.
Knowing that hospitals, you can pick something up there. You should have like a 2-week quarantine. You should automatically, if an elderly person, here I'm running the show. This is really simple. We have an automatic 2-week quarantine where we take the elderly people discharged from the hospital, and if they can't go home to be with the people at a house,
right.
If they're going to a care home where they could possibly infect other elderly people, then we have to have one care home or multiple care homes for just those people to quarantine at.
Well, they had all these COVID hospitals that they built that they didn't get used.
Exactly.
Why not put them there?
And that is the way quarantines work.
Right.
If you've been around somebody, if you're suspected to be around somebody, that is the way quarantines work. You don't go back into the most vulnerable population. Again, I say this as an not telling people that they wouldn't be able to go home, because I feel like that's a totally different distinction. That can be very dystopian and scary to rip children and stuff people away from their parents.
No,
we're talking about people who go to a place where all these other people live.
Yeah.
Like you would have. I mean, we're talking. You lock down from grocery stores, nursing homes, and things like that would be equivalent to even a grocery store. Would you send COVID people to a grocery store?
Right.
No.
Right. So Barry says these care homes take the residents' own homes away in fees for elderly residents to stay in them, yet they want the NHS to pay for their PPE and to get the UK government to pay for their equipment. Stuart the Brit says care homes have been systematically destroyed by government for many years. Barry says these care homes are private businesses that take thousands of pounds a week off their residents to stay in them. Stuart the Brit says, do not believe them. They have proven for years that old people are a waste of money for these politicians. So they wanted to know what Katie Hopkins had been up to, if you're not going to play
it. Sure. I can see if I can find her on Twitter. She was talking about the migrants. And she was saying, she was
that's standard for her.
She was giving the reasoning for why the migrants are coming in. And if you guys want to hear what she has to say, then we can end with this. Let's see why they're coming in. I know Katie tweets a lot.
On Periscope, Frogs in Space says, if they are dying, it's because of neglect. The hydroxychloroquine treats corona so well.
Where did I see... Did I tweet her out? Where did I see her video? There we are. There's Donald Trump. Somebody tweeted that out. Katie. Can't find her, guys.
They might have taken it down.
Well, they might have.
They took down Michelle Malkin. Trump tweeted her out, and they took her video down.
Hopkins. Put a little D there.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure. This is... Here, is this it? Nope. She just makes a lot of videos. She's talking... She basically gave the reasons for why people are coming in, because it's free to come in and they're giving incentives to come in. She does a lot of videos.
Well, you guys can go to her Twitter if you're on Twitter. Not everybody is. Oh, Barry says that he's got the link. He sent it to me. Let me see.
Was it on Facebook? Did you send it? Maybe he sent it to me.
Sorry, it's being slow. Is this the one?
No.
That's Nigel.
That was Nigel. Katie Hopkins had a video on the migrants too.
Here, this says... Is this one it?
No,
okay.
It's it. No, there it is.
Okay.
It had to be Barry. Oh dear.
What?
Loving how wound up the Corona Stasi are getting on their COVID idiots tag. The new deplorals, well done to everyone enjoying your essential exercise and sunshine, getting your vitamin D. So 6 feet apart with a little conga rope.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Where is that?
It's in Europe somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's got 9.4 million views.
It's
That's a pretty big conga line.
It is.
Oh, I get it. Because conga lines,
don't touch.
You got to touch. And so that's the conga line with the rope.
Yep,
I
yep,
get
yep.
it. I get it.
Let's go to Katie's video here.
I get it. I get it.
And we're going to hope no one sends Michelle a Facebook message while we're going live.
Are you wondering why so many migrants are trying to come across the channel, one of the biggest shipping lanes in the whole of the world? Well, it's because of this. It's because your government, the British government, advertises to these asylum seekers what you'll get. Let me tell you what you'll get if you're an asylum seeker in the UK, whether you're actually an asylum seeker or whether you were perfectly safe in France, for example. You'll get somewhere to live, a cash allowance, or both. You can choose whether you want a flat, a house, a hostel, or bed and breakfast. How lovely is that? I wonder if we serve it to them in bed. I do hope so. Cash support, you'll get £37.75 for every person in your household to help you pay for things like food, clothing and toiletries. I am actually reading this from the government website. Your allowance will be loaded onto a debit card each week to make it easy for you to spend what you want to spend. Isn't that nice? And even if you've been refused asylum seeker, you're a failed asylum seeker in my country, your country, you'll be given somewhere to live and £35.39 per person on a payment card. This is what we're handing out, and then we go on to tell them you may get free National Health Service, such as to see a doctor or get hospital treatment. You'll get free prescriptions for medicine, free eye tests, free glasses. I ask you, as a British citizen, as someone that's paid in all their lives, do you get free prescriptions? Have you been offered a free place to live or somewhere that gives you bed and breakfast? Have you been offered £300 maternity payment just because you're having a baby? I thought not. These are people who are here often illegally, and this is what we promise them. And is it any wonder that they choose to come? This country is a soft touch. It's time we started standing up for the British nationals who live here and our ex-service personnel who are offered nothing like this, nothing of the sort.
So I guess it's if you want to go to the UK on vacation, you can have it totally paid for. Just claim that you're a refugee.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get a bed and breakfast. You can get a little payment card for food, and you can get around. And she plays this. Well done to everyone. Thanks to you.
Maya said the exact same thing. She says, well, I think I might become an asylum seeker. Nice summer vacation.
Exactly. Massive power grab in New Zealand. Get involved. No police entering your home without a warrant. No to government enforcers closing businesses without a reason. So here, this is New Zealand.
Have been receiving a huge volume of correspondence, phone calls to our offices, text messages, social media posts and so on, because many people were opposed to the passage of the bill. They were very, very concerned that there was going to be no select committee process. Therefore, this at least belatedly gives us the opportunity for select committee scrutiny. But also many have pointed out that they only heard about it when it was a fait accompli. Because there was so limited opportunity for the media to cover this issue, they simply didn't know that it was happening. And now they're saying, good Lord, has a democratic country like New Zealand passed a bill of this nature? Members of...
So you can, I guess, basically you can just come in, the coronavirus passages.
All right, we're done.
We're done.
So you got a little bonus. It was like a little after the movie thing, after the credits, and then you get some extras. It's really exciting.
That's true.
We try to keep it spicy around here to keep you coming back, and we're so glad that you do. I pray that you have a wonderful, blessed week. We'll be back on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our weekly roundup of more news, and then again on Sunday at 1 p.m. roughly for our world news. We love you guys.
We have a P.O. Box.
Yes, P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150. If you send us your letters, we will read them on air, unless otherwise noted. Barry says, Bojo and the Home Secretary Priti Patil will reap the whirlwind of the public on this when it gets out. It's happening in New York. Ron DeSantis doing a great job down in Florida protecting the elderly. Cuomo, and he's ripped to shreds.
No good.
All these elderly are dying under his watch.
No good.
He is responsible for them, and he's a rock star. It's terrible. So we'll talk about that. We may go live later today with a Patriot Gallery blog.
Maybe this
evening. I probably won't because it hurt. My neck standing here is difficult, but you and Mom might.
We'll see. We'll see how the day progresses. We got to go outside and do some stuff.
Yes. All right. We love you guys. God loves you.
And God bless.
Bye, guys.